Recorded Books and One Click Digital present Death in the Off-Season by Francine Mathews. Narrated by Madeline Mabey. Prologue. A perfect night for feijoada. The thought came to him unbidden as he stared through the windshield at the fog, a fluid blackness wrapping the car like a mourning sheet. Feijoada. Pungent rice and black beans with bits of pork and sausage. It was food intended to comfort, like most of his life in Brazil's decaying paradise. His life. The car creaked into a pothole, lurching on its ravaged shock absorbers, and the motion sent blood pounding into his temples. He was exhausted, and his thoughts darted like fish in a disturbed pool. The 9-hour flight and the night ferry were catching up with him. He shivered in the creeping dampness. His life. He had to hold on to it, despite the insidious enemy, the threat coursing through his veins. He had to do more than escape. He had to win. He'd always hated this island. Hated the fog, the way it masked his sight, made him stumble, and turned the familiar into something threatening. He felt vulnerable on Nantucket, something no Mason could ever endure. Masons destroyed the vulnerable for God's sake. The car came to a stop, engine idling, its headlights picking up the glint of the livestock gate's gray metal bars. He stared at it an instant, taking in the words Mason Farms painted in a red semicircle on a square white signboard. And then he bared his teeth at the family domain. "Open the gate for me," his driver said. "Why?" "Because that's how you were raised." He hesitated an instant, then shoved the door wide. The car was filled with the smell of salt and pine. He stepped tentatively into the opaque night, breathing his discomfort in quick bursts, the fog smoothing his brow with a wet hand. Only a few steps to the gatepost and the wire loop holding the bars closed against the sheep. He crossed in front of the headlights, feeling exposed and backlit, and glanced over his shoulder. The glare blinded him momentarily, as he had known it would, and he blinked, thinking for an instant that the car's sudden movement was a trick of the light, something to do with the fog, and not the hurling of wheels and metal toward his body. The first stab of fear and understanding came just as the hood of the car crashed into his spine, throwing him up and backward, snapping his skull against the windshield. He skittered off the roof into a darkness that was filled with searing pain, unbounded by the edges of his body. The fog, he thought, fighting for sense even as it left him, and knew with anguish that he was lost. Chapter 1. Will awoke, as he did every day, a few seconds before his mother turned from the muffins she was mixing in the kitchen 2 floors below and walked to the stairs. He lay still, his eyes closed in the semi-dark, listening for her voice. "Will? Will, it's past 6. Labor Day. He hugged the stillness of the early morning to himself for a few seconds longer. Tomorrow he'd be torn from sleep and thrust into the long tedium of the school year. With it would come winter. Shorter days, fewer ferries to the mainland, and the disappearance of the summer people whose energy and strident voices broke the island's isolation for a few months. "Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow," he murmured sleepily, and then stopped, self-conscious. His voice had changed a year ago, and its new depth still had the power to startle him. He thrust his head deeper into his pillow and groped for the strands of a...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it. at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.